Amara never expected that the night her small fashion business finally succeeded would also become the night her marriage quietly changed. It started with a simple video. After another long day working at a marketing office in the busy city, Amara returned to the small apartment she shared with her husband Daniel. Like most nights, she cooked dinner, cleaned the kitchen, and waited until the apartment was quiet before turning on her sewing machine. The soft hum of the machine had become the soundtrack of her evenings. Fashion was her real dream, something she had loved since she was a teenager, sketching dresses in a worn notebook. But life in the city was expensive, and dreams had to compete with rent, bills, and responsibilities. Daniel always called her designs cute. Whenever she mentioned turning it into a real business, he would smile and say, "It's a nice hobby, but let's focus on things that actually pay the bills." He didn't mean it cruelly, at least that's what she told herself, but his tone always carried a quiet certainty that her dream wasn't serious. Still, Amara continued sewing. Night after night, she stitched fabrics together, experimenting with colors and patterns inspired by the energy of the city. Sometimes she posted photos online. Sometimes nobody noticed. Sometimes a few people liked the designs. But she never stopped trying. Then one evening, she decided to record a short video of one of her dresses. It wasn't a big production, just her phone camera, a bright lamp, and a quick spin in front of the mirror to show how the dress moved. She uploaded it to social media and went to sleep without thinking much about it. The next morning, her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Notifications flooded the screen, likes, shares, comments, and messages from strangers asking where they could buy the dress. Influencers had reposted the video. Fashion bloggers were tagging her account. Within hours, people across the city were asking for custom orders. By the afternoon, Amara had received more orders than she had received in the previous 6 months combined. Her hands trembled as she checked her payment notifications. The amount of money coming in was something she had only imagined before. For the first time, her small side project had earned more in a single day than her monthly salary at the office. She felt like her dream had finally opened a door. When Daniel returned home that evening, she excitedly told him everything. She expected surprise, maybe even pride. At first, he seemed impressed, asking how many orders she had received and how much money she had made. But something about the way he asked felt different. Before, he barely cared about the business. Now, he wanted to know every detail. "How much did you make today?" he asked casually while eating dinner. Amara told him the number. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "That's actually pretty good," he said. The next day, he asked again. And the day after that. At first, he thought he was simply interested because the business was finally growing. But soon, his questions began to change. "Maybe you should quit your office job," he suggested one evening. "If the business is growing this fast, you should focus on it full time." The suggestion sounded supportive, but something about his tone made her hesitate. Then he continued. "If this business becomes big, we'll need to manage the money properly. Taxes, accounts, all that complicated stuff." Amara nodded slowly. Daniel leaned back in his chair and added, "Maybe it's better if I handle the finances." She looked at him, unsure if she had heard correctly. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean we should open a business account under my management. That way, everything stays organized." The idea made her uncomfortable, but she laughed lightly, hoping he was joking. Daniel didn't laugh back. Over the next few weeks, her business kept growing. Orders increased, customers recommended her designs, and small boutiques started asking to stock her clothes. The tiny project she had built quietly at night was turning into something real. But at the same time, Daniel's behavior kept changing. He began referring to the brand as our business when talking to friends. At gatherings, he proudly explained how we built this fashion brand from scratch. Amara listened silently as people congratulated him. She remembered the nights he had fallen asleep while she worked alone. She remembered the times he had dismissed the idea as a hobby, yet now he spoke as if he had been part of the dream from the beginning. The more the business succeeded, the more controlling Daniel became. He asked for the passwords to her online store. He wanted access to her financial records. He suggested changing the bank account where customers sent payments. One night, he said something that made her chest tighten. "I'm your husband," he said calmly. "Everything in this house belongs to both of us." The sentence sounded reasonable, but it carried a quiet pressure she couldn't ignore. Amara began noticing something she had never seen before. Daniel had never worried about her business when it was small, when it was struggling, when it earned almost nothing. When she stayed up late sewing with tired eyes, he had shown little interest. But now that it was successful, he wanted control. The realization stayed in her mind like a warning. Was this support or something else? One evening, she received an email notification that made her heart race. Daniel had already contacted a bank about opening a joint business account. He had even scheduled an appointment to set it up. He hadn't discussed it with her first. That was the moment everything became clear. Some people don't fear your failure. They fear your independence. That night, Amara sat quietly at her laptop while Daniel slept. She reviewed her orders, checked her growing customer list, and then opened a government website. Within a few hours, she registered her brand as an official company under her name. No argument, no confrontation, just protection. A week later, Daniel came home holding a folder of documents. "I talked to the bank today," he said proudly. "Let's make this business official." He placed the papers on the table. Amara looked at them calmly before pushing them back toward him. "The business is already registered," she said. Daniel frowned in confusion. "What do you mean?" "I registered the company last week," she replied quietly. "Under whose name?" he asked. She met his eyes. "Mine." For a moment, Daniel didn't speak. The room felt strangely silent, as if the balance of something invisible had shifted. Amara wasn't angry. She wasn't trying to win an argument. She simply understood something important now. Dreams deserve protection, especially when they finally start working. Her business continued growing in the months that followed. She hired 2 assistants, moved production into a small studio, and watched her brand slowly become known across the city. Daniel still lived in the apartment with her, but something between them had changed. Success had revealed something neither of them expected. It had shown the difference between support and control. Amara didn't celebrate revenge, she celebrated freedom. The freedom to build something she loved and the confidence to protect it, because one truth had become clear to her. The real test of people isn't how they treat your dreams when they're small. The real test is how they react when those dreams finally become powerful. And sometimes, success doesn't break relationships, it simply exposes them.